Good evening, everyone. So the first live, it's going to be a little bit weird not having anyone to talk to. So just kind of me talking to a camera, but I'll give it a shot. I've been told on a few occasions that I can do my fair share of talking. So I'm going to give it a go. Let's see, Norfolk Reefer and Tony from Digital Corals are in already. So evening, guys. Hope you're doing well. So I'm just kind of using this as an opportunity to be a bit lazy. I'm doing my week in reefing as a live, and then I don't have to edit it. So yeah, I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll give it a go. I said in my last video that I was going to start dosing the Reef's Elements Complete. I made a bit of a mistake on it, so I thought it was the part 2 of pH Plus that you needed to dilute to stop the Red Sea dosing pipes from deteriorating. And because the pH Plus and the Complete share the same part 2, I assumed that I needed to dilute my part 2 as well. So off I went, diluting it all, doing another container and everything. And then luckily someone piped up on my last video and said, why are you doing that? It's the part 1 of pH Plus that needs it. And of course the part 1 is different between pH Plus and Complete. So I went to a lot of faff for no particular reason. And not only that, when I first started dosing with it, I forgot to double the amount I was dosing to make up for the 50% dilution that I was doing. So I was adding half the amount I should have been. So when I then ramped that up, I started to see some of the benefits with the pH stability. So my pH was swinging between 8.13 and 7.84, which is quite a bit of a swing. And that is worse if I worked from home, because breathing out carbon dioxide in this room every day, and particularly as the weather gets a bit colder, can't have the window on the breather. So it does start to build up a bit of CO2 in here, which impacts the pH. But since dosing the Reef's Elements, my pH swing now is going between 8.06 and 7.9. So it's already, reduced by quite a bit. But I'm continuing to refine when it starts and stops dosing, so that the dosing that happens is coming in at the points when my pH is starting to drop. And I'm playing around with it a little bit more, and I'm getting that graph a little bit flatter. It's still difficult when the days that I work from home, because as I said, I'm a mouth breather, and chucking out carbon dioxide in this room all day long, particularly as I like to talk and I spend a lot of the time on the phone. There's a lot of hot air and CO2 in this room. So that's my Reef's Elements. I see we've got a question from Norfolk Reefer. Thank you very much, Matt. Yes, I am only dosing at night. Now, let me see if I can share I'll share with you my Apex screen in a second. And I looked at what my dosing was doing, or what my pH was doing. Ooh, there's a lot of clicks to do this. Let's share that one. There you go. So this is my pH graph since the 9th of October. And you can see it's up and down, up and down, up and down. And there's some big swings in here as I'm starting to then dose Complete, and I'm starting now to kind of tweak this. And I have worked from home all day today, so you can see here my pH is dropped to 8 at the moment. Now, based on what I was seeing with these previous dips, as you can see there, 6:30. It was about 8 o'clock that it started to get down at about 8 pH, and you can see we're pretty much there again. So I set my dosing schedule to start at 8 p.m. and originally I had it set to finish at 8 a.m. But I noticed that my pH was still dropping because the lights hadn't fully come on. So to kind of push that back up a little bit, it needed me to extend the period that I dosed for. So I'm dosing from 8 p.m. until 10 a.m. at the moment. So hopefully that answers your question. And yeah, that's it. Right, stop sharing again. Let me get my notes back up. The other thing is, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll notice that normally that fish tank is just to the side of me there. And I haven't moved the fish tank, I've moved my desk because that's much easier. So my desk was facing this wall. There's two reasons for that. One, I knew I wanted to do this live and I thought it would look a lot nicer if I had the tank behind me. And two, I'm about to move house and there's a whole load of holes in that wall there that I need to fill in before we move out. And I didn't fancy climbing on my desk to do it. So it served both purposes. And I liked it next to me when I was sat here working, so I could kind of glance at it. It was even better when it was on that side, because I had my webcam just there, so I could be in a work meeting and I could still see the tank. So yeah, it was just a bit of zen in a sometimes stressful meeting. And if I'm in a meeting now and I just kind of turn like that, everyone knows what I'm doing. So I can't get away with that quite so much, but it's always a good conversation starter. So yeah, move around of the office. I've still got the Fluval Evo, which is kind of just over there. I still have not made any plans on how I'm going to move these when I move house. I've got an old Aqua 120 tank that I'll probably move to my parents' house, set it up, put the stock in, and then hopefully do that the day before. And then on the day of the move, I can move the tank, get it up there, but not worry about moving all the livestock and everything. And then the day after we've moved, I can fill the tank and move the livestock over. However, it's a smaller tank than this, and I'm a little concerned that there might be some fighting going on, so I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with that. Solar garden, Tony. Yeah, you can see it in the video, over that shoulder. There you go. It's reversed on my screen. So yeah, you can see it here. It's growing on quite nicely. Some of them grow much quicker than others though. I have some fake lime chilies just here. They're growing really quickly. The Gods of War, they're growing really quickly as well. Eagle eye something. Toxic evil eye something. Toxic eagle eye, I think they are. They're growing pretty quick. And then I've got some others that, one of them here has barely opened since I got it in the frag swap at Aqua. I don't know if they're ever going to open. I do think that one of them's missing since the tuxedo urchin went over it the other day. So I don't know whether we're going to see any of those. But I've also got two rocks just over here that I used to have all the zoas on, and I kind of pulled them all off and moved them over. But the zoas had already started growing onto that rock. So I've got another two rocks that are now growing out that I'll probably grow out into mini zoa gardens and then sell them on. So yeah, what else have we got? I'm missing I thought I was missing a firefish. I've got two firefish in here, and I think I hadn't worked from home much, and I'd been getting in quite late, had quite busy early part of the evening. So by the time I came into the office and sat down, the lights were starting to dim down. and a bit like now, both firefish have taken themselves to bed. And when I came in to feed them, one came out and the other one didn't. And I watched for a while and it still didn't come out. And I was absolutely convinced that I'd lost a firefish. And then I came in yesterday and they were both swimming around the tank. So I haven't lost a firefish, but I did think I had for a little while. Well, today actually, this was supposed to have been done a while ago, but today I finally got round to making two different videos. So when people go to my YouTube homepage, they get a video that automatically starts. Now, I've now recorded two different videos. One of them plays if you go to the homepage and you're a subscriber, and a totally different one plays if you're not subscribed. So anyone that's not subscribed, you get to try out both of them. You can go there unsubscribed and then hit that subscribe button and you'll see the other one. But I saw someone else had done that and I thought that's a really good idea. Really like that. So I meant to do it earlier on in the week. I did record it. I've recorded it multiple times. Just I made such a balls up of it that I did it again, and I just did it again and again today until I got it right. And yeah, now it's sorted. So yeah, that was the YouTube changes. What else have we got in the comments? Secret with gonnies. I don't know. I really don't know, because I think we've talked about it before, Matt. I had a gonny and I had an alvy for months, and they just looked like a round stone. They just weren't out at all. And I did loads of research onto what to do with getting gonnies stable, and I saw loads of conflicting information about flow and lots of different things. And you can see they're here. The clownfish are even trying to host in them now. That actually, I had a pump fail in my last tank, and it dumped a load of RO water on a gonny that I had, and the extension on that was massive. And then the clownfish started to bother it, and the combination of the RO and the clownfish just did it in. And to be honest, I think it was the RO that did it in more than the clownfish. But I was dosing calcium and magnesium and manganese. I gave up. Well, I didn't give up. I changed salt. Yeah, let me get it right. I changed salt from Red Sea Blue Bucket to the Coral Pro Black Bucket. And when I then started doing my tests for calcium and magnesium, it was off the scale. It was maximum. It was the maximum amount that the testers that I had would show. So I had 500 calcium and 1500 magnesium. It bothered me a little bit that I couldn't ever bring them back down. So I've moved back to Blue Bucket, and I'm starting to see the calcium and magnesium drop a little bit. I'm hoping to let that continue. I'm probably going to try NIOS Pure Salt. After chatting with the guys and girls at the Exodus stand, they were kind of talking to me about it. They kind of sold me on it. I think it's marginally cheaper than the Red Sea, and it sounds a whole lot better. So I'm going to try it. I don't know what it's going to be like, but watch this space. I'll try that. When it comes to manganese, every single time I had an ICP, my manganese is like either undetectable or at the bottom of the scale. And I spoke on the D&D stand with the dude from Reefs Elements that I did an interview with, and although someone corrected me in the chat about my pronunciation of his name, I actually recorded him when he told me how to say it. So I do know that his name is Jose, or Jose, or Josie, or however us English are going to butcher it. He was talking to me about these trace elements that are almost undetectable. And if you look at that video that I recorded with him, he talks about how long, I can't remember the scientific name he gave it. I'd sound really smart if I could remember it, but I can't. But it was how long that the dosing would last in the water. And basically, some of these trace elements are kind of gone in like 8 hours. So yeah, manganese, I do dose with them, and I have in the cabinet here, I have manganese, and I also have the Red Sea bioactive elements and the trace colours iodine. So all three of those I've been dosing, and I have been dosing the iron as well, but I've run out of it. So I just take a pipette of each. It's about 2 ml, and I just squirt it into the sump where the return pump is, and I try and do it every day. The reality is I probably end up doing it 5 times a week, because the other days I end up forgetting. But I think that makes a difference, and I think that helps. So I don't know if you're doing that, Matt. If you are, yeah, I'm all out of ideas. But if you're not, maybe it's worth a try. I think those bottles are about £18, which seems a lot for a really small bottle, but it works and it's lasted forever. Parameters. Let me go back to my aquatic fusion. So let me go to tests. Let me share it with you as well. Present screen, window. Yep, there you go. So alkalinity is 8.9. Don't know why it's only showing me one result. Calcium 500, like I said, it's like just pegged at pretty much maximum. Magnesium 1500. Nitrates 2.2. My nitrate's quite low. I've been having a little bit of a battle with nitrate and phosphate. Now my phosphates are quite high, and I'm just using up the last of the Phos-X, and I'm going to move back to Roaphos, so I think it's more aggressive in getting out phosphates. So I've used a smaller amount of the ActiCarb for the nitrates, and I'm starting to see that come back up. I mean, my nitrates almost bottomed out. They were like 0.2 at one point, which is really low. Yeah, before I started with the NIOS talk, my nitrates were like 25 or 30, and they've really come down. I've been keeping them fairly low. I think it's also partly to do with the Chaeto. Chaeto's going crazy in my sump at the moment. And then phosphate is 0.16, so it's higher than I wanted. That typically it goes between, that's kind of the maximum, and it drops down to like 0.06 at the bottom. I don't think I've had it below 0.06, but I'm trying to keep it at 0.08, just to keep it below 1, but I don't want to wipe it out completely, because I know a lot of the corals quite like it. So let me stop sharing that. Yeah, so if you're not dosing manganese, give it a try. It might just be, I'm not saying that's what makes mine come out, but that is a difference, so it's worth a try. Anything else? No more comments? No. So then moving on, we've got Tony in the house with us. If you were lucky enough to pick up one of the free packs from the Digital Corals stand, I've finished completely. I've still got the box. Look, there we go. I was worried then, Tony. I thought I hadn't got it anymore. There's the box. So if you picked up one of these at Aqua, I know there are, certainly I had a few struggles initially, but I've been talking to Tony, and I know he's been really working to iron them out and make this process much simpler for everyone. And he was saying to me today about some big improvements they've made. So really trying to get people on board, get it going. Let's get a group of us together on this digital wallet of corals, and yeah, we'll see if we can just kind of get enough people together to help Tony get this up and running. And then it's a great way to share your tank and corals and pictures and things. I was talking with Tony today, as I said, and I'm away with work next week, but the week after that, on Wednesday, I'll do another live stream, and I'll bring Tony in, and he can tell you all about the changes it's made to Digital Corals, take you through what exactly it is, how it works, and yeah, just kind of anyone who didn't see it at Aqua, didn't see any of the videos or anything like that, then yeah, it will be an introduction to it. Hopefully we can get some people on board and really kind of give it a good go and see what it's all about. What else have I got to talk about? So my next one is in the Zoa garden, and because the lights are going down, the little Zoas on the end, and I'm terrible with the names of Zoa. I'm not great with the names of all the corals anyway, but Zoas, so many bloody names, I really struggle. Let me share my screen. It'd be a lot smoother if there was a quicker way for me to do this, wouldn't it? It's not letting me do it. There we go. Let me share my whole screen. There we go. So these Zoas here, when I first bought them at AAC, there were some of these other coloured Zoas right next to them. I thought, oh, this is great, getting two different Zoas for one here. But then I also noticed this other little bit that was poking up, and at the time it was tiny. It was just poking through the Zoas, and I thought, I think there's another type of Zoa there. And then as they've started to open up, they're clove polyps, and there's more and more of them. But as the lights start to go down, I think it makes the Zoas close up that little bit earlier. So on my list of jobs to do is to just take those. I'm probably going to cut the Zoas off of the plug and re-glue them onto another plug, and then move the clove polyps somewhere else. They look quite nice, quite like them. They're just irritating the Zoas at the moment, so I will do something about that. And then there's another picture here. This is my Fungia, and it has been miserable for 2.5 weeks. It doesn't look like it's going to die. It doesn't look like it's suffering, but it's normally really puffy, and the tentacles on it are really extended, and it just looks like that at the moment. It doesn't look particularly happy. And if you look in the tank, if I move this way, because the lights are going down, I've got a Diaceras plate here as well, and that thing's massive. It like doubles in size during the day. I don't know why. I don't know why the Fungia is not happy, but it really isn't. I thought it was light. Tried reducing the light back again. I've tried moving it in a couple of different places in the tank. I'm just going to leave it now and see what happens. The stability is key, so I'm going to leave it in one place and hopefully it will adjust. I've talked about my diluting the wrong part of complete. The next one. So I took a little visit to one of my local fish shops, and I mentioned it in a video a while back. It's a shop called the Trop Shop. It's just outside Ipswich. It's between Ipswich and Colchester. And I went in there one day, and there was a guy in there, and he was cleaning out all of the marine tanks. And I bought a tuxedo urchin for £10 or £15. It was ridiculously cheap. And I thought to myself then, I think they're going to ramp down that marine section and just kill it off. And then I saw a post on their Facebook page saying, yeah, the marine section's back open. So I took straight away off. I went and had a little look round, and there was another tuxedo urchin, and I wanted a second one, so I bought it because it was cheap again. And some really small clownfish and a couple of other bits. And I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely winding it down. But then I got talking to the guy when he was bagging up my urchin. He was like, oh no, he was away, and there was some problem with CITES or something, and the delivery never came in. He said, yeah, so we're getting one next week, and it will be completely full, but we missed a delivery, which kind of reassured me a little bit. And then as I was paying for that, I got talking with another guy who was asking whether I was fish only or mixed reef, and turns out this guy called Ben is just starting up a coral importing business. So it's called Ben's Corals. It's on WhatsApp, and I have got some pictures. Corals. Let's see if I can go to just pictures. So present my screen again. Here we go. Yes, so there is a rainbow gonny, a teal coloured algae, one that I can't see. There we go. Some torches. So these are all different corals that he's recently imported. So these ones, I think these pictures were a little over 24 hours after he unboxed them and put them in his tank. But yeah, there's lots in there to choose from. So I know he's aiming towards kind of getting more in, getting more variety. He's now got pots in to ship, so he can ship them out as well. I think that's all of them now. That one looks stunning. Really, really glows. Yeah. So that's all of the ones that he has at the moment. But I was speaking with him. I'll try and put a link to his WhatsApp in the comment or chat or something for this video once it's published on YouTube, so you can join the WhatsApp and see what he's got. So yeah, it'd be really, really interesting to see how that business pans out and how he grows that business. The more options we have, the more selection we have, the better. So my last one before I go on to some of the news that I've been spotting, opportunity for another meetup. Matt, Norfolk Reefer, I know you missed out on Aqua, and I know you're going to the Reefing evening, Coral Freaks, and I will see you there. I'll be at Coral Freaks at AAC. I was speaking to the ladies at Little Fish Aquatics in Norfolk, and they were saying to me that they're just about to expand their marine section, and they were going to be launching that fairly soon, and asked me if I wanted to come up and film there. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'm probably moving house right about the time that you have this expansion, but definitely at some point I will come up. And I've been messaging them since then and saying, why don't we do it as a bit of a meetup? So rather than just me turn up on my own and do a bit of filming, I know Matt, we've been talking about maybe trying to meet up at a fish shop somewhere and grab a beer or something. So I suggested this to the ladies at Little Fish Aquatics, and they loved the idea. So I know Shamila and Michael that were doing the frag swap at Aqua, they're not far from this shop as well. So I think they would be up to come and meet up with us as well. So I'm trying to get half a dozen or a dozen people to try and meet up there. There's a cafe nearby that we can go there. There's also a pub in the village that we can go and have lunch at a pub or something. But it's just an opportunity to meet a load of reefing weirdos and look at some fish in a shop as well. Probably spend some money. I've said either kind of towards the middle of November or in January. I'm thinking January, mid-January is probably the better option. I've just seen your comment, Matt. I will liaise with you beforehand to make sure it's a weekend you can do. I was mindful of that when we were talking about what weekend to do it. So we'll try and get a date where we can all meet up, and it'll be nice to see a few people, to go to a coral shop, share a beer if we can, and also there's an opportunity to swap some frags again if anyone's up for a bit of a frag swap. It can be quite an informal one. We don't need to ask Shamila to police it all for us. I think if there's only 6 or 7 of us going, then it should be fairly simple. But I just thought that would be a great opportunity to get a few people together again, especially if we do it in January. I'm mindful that it probably needs to be after payday in January, and everyone's probably a little bit poor in January, but also it's depressing as hell because it's cold and miserable. So it might be really nice to get out and go and see some excitable reefers. That's what I've been thinking about. It's early days yet. Like I say, I've got to move house. I've got to move that tank and that tank. I've got to try and keep everything alive. And I've got to keep the wife happy at the same time in the new house. And we've got an 11-year-old who will be absolute chaos while we're moving house. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Let's get that out of the way, get a bit of bandwidth in my brain, because I don't have much bandwidth left anymore. So I can think about a few things, and we'll see if we can sort out a date for that. So the news, and I don't have a snazzy little theme tune like Reef Dog, but let me present my desktop again. Share window, that one. So some of the things I've spotted in the news. This one caught my eye: growing nuisance algae to feed your fish. Kind of reading into it a little bit more, it's talking about fish that are tricky to get feeding, and different tactics to get them to feed, rather than just throwing tons of food in your tank and different types of food and then having to deal with the nitrates and phosphates and everything after that. It's more about looking into the particular type of food that fish would normally eat in the wild, and then trying to replicate that by growing your own or hatching your own of that type of food. A little bit like the copepod hatchery that I had for the mandarin and the pipefish. That kind of thing, having something and then maybe easing them into it over a longer time period. So that was quite an in-depth article about how to go about it and the theory behind it. So that one was quite an interesting one to read. And then this one from Jeremy Gay, a day in the life of AAC. And I think what a fantastic opportunity. That would be great fun to go and work in a big fish shop like AAC and see all of the corals and get to meet all of the people. That would be really good. That was an interesting one. Then this one, and maybe a little bit controversial, yellow Fiji. I'm not convinced that I like it. I know that's a little bit controversial because it was not available for a really long time, and now it's starting to appear back in stores. But yeah, I'm not entirely convinced I like it. I don't know what you guys think of it. Not really my cup of tea. What else? This was a nice one. So this is actually a dangerous reef shop that is a 5-minute walk from my office when I go into the office, and they had some really nice fish, really nice corals as well. So this is a symphilia they had in. They posted a picture the other day. It really caught my eye. Looked very nice. And this, yeah, I don't know what I need to do to get YouTube to send me sweets, but I see Reef Doc's getting some sweets. So yeah, if anyone's listening from YouTube and wants to send me sweets, I quite like Skittles or April fruits. They call them April fruits anymore? Yeah, made me feel old. I don't even know if they're called April fruits anymore. Yeah, and then a few more coral. You know, I love a gonny, and these glitter gonnies look amazing. I've never actually seen any for sale, and apparently they had some at Aqua. I never saw them. I imagine they're probably a bit pricey, but they do look absolutely stunning. And then this one caught my eye as well. I think I've got a video. Yeah, just a little video of it here as well. You know, some. This is Gonapora collectors, and yeah, the coral porn on there is amazing. I could spend an absolute fortune on gonnies. I think I could probably just fill a tank with gonnies. I love them that much. And then I think the last item on my agenda was Aqua. So they've announced now Aqua 2025. Am I going? Yeah. It just takes me to the tickets. I did have a better link than this. Let me see if I can find it. So they are running it again next year. There we go. No, it's taking me to the same place. Yeah, I'm sure they had some better pictures on here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so they're looking to move into the bigger hall. So the hall behind and to the right as you're looking at the front of the building. So much more space, which looks really interesting. Really looking forward to having a lot more there. And also I noticed that they're looking to see if they can get a license so that they can allow the sale of live fish and reptiles, which I think will probably bring more of the reptile people in to the show. The reptile vendors will be happier to take part if they can sell it, because there's not a lot that you can sell as a reptile shop, really. Whereas for us, we had loads of coral that could be sold, and I imagine people did really well out of coral sales at Aqua. So yeah, I think that will probably entice quite a few more vendors and hobbyists, I think. And it'll be really interesting to see some of these other creatures. I know people have been talking about dart frogs and things like that. It'd be really interesting to see them. And that's all I have for the news. So hey, I'll see we've got the Reefers Network in. Hi guys. I don't know which one from the Reefers Network it is. And then another one from Norfolk Reefer. How did I get into the hobby? Oh, good question. So go back a long way. When I was, I don't know, probably 10-ish, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I ended up getting a turtle tank And yeah, I wouldn't recommend that because of the amount of the tank that's open to air and the lights and heat. It really stinks. So we didn't end up keeping. They weren't turtles; they were terrapins. But yeah, that's what I started with. I then moved on to a kind of mixed tropical tank, and that was probably not much bigger than a Fluval Evo. And I had all sorts of things there. I remember I did have frogs in it, and that they would always find a way over the splash guard and onto the top, and then you would find a cooked, dried frog where the fluorescent tube had cooked it, basically. I remember having coolie loaches and all sorts of other different things. I then kind of moved away from keeping fish for quite a few years, probably until my daughter was born. So yeah, about 11 years ago. And then I got another tank. I got a 2-foot tank. I put lots of tropicals in it, just another mixed community tank. I then, as I kind of evolved that hobby, I then moved into trying to breed some of them. So I remember having the fighting fish. I had successfully bred them a few times. I had killifish. I said killifish. Those were really interesting and probably as bright. And that started me on the I want bright looking fish trend. I got those. And I was like, wow, the colours on these are really nice. I had them. Then I moved back towards the community tank and I had some shrimp, a lot of shrimp in there, freshwater shrimp. And then I just went whole hog and I bought a huge 4-foot by 2-foot by 1.5-foot tank that was a marine tank. And sacrilege now, I took all of the marine equipment out of it, fitted a Fluval canister filter, and started keeping Malawi cichlids. I bought a few, and I found that there was just hardly any selection at a lot of the shops. So I ended up finding someone that was importing them from Lake Malawi, and I ended up starting to spend quite a bit of money with this guy bringing in fish. But I was having quite a bit of success breeding them, and some of the rarer ones as well. There was a Metriaclima dolphin. I think it's only been bred in captivity a handful of times. Maybe that was only a handful of times in the UK, but one of those was me. I was successful with it, and the guy that would import all my fish straight away just said to me, "I want all of them, all of the fry. I want them." So I was selling on F1 fry from those, and then and this is something about people saying that saltwater is more challenging. The Malawi cichlids, I think, were messier than the marines. I was doing probably a 40% water change every week in that tank, which was a lot. And it wasn't as expensive because it wasn't RODI water, and you didn't have to add salt. All I did is I would run water into a huge water butt in the shed, and I would leave it. So I'd do it on the Saturday, fill it up, and then the following Saturday I would empty that into my tank and then fill it up again. And that allowed all of the chloramide in there from the tap water to gas off and become harmless. So I did that for quite a while, but I was traveling a lot with work at the time, and I found that I was working away all week. I was coming back a lot on the Friday afternoon, Friday early evening, quite tired, and then Saturday morning I spent half the day cleaning out the fish, and it was just too much. So I kind of got rid of all of that, moved moved on. I can't remember what other hobby. I've got a bit of a reputation for having a lot of hobbies. Anyone that knows me well knows that if you want to start a hobby, ask me. I've probably done it. So I moved on to a couple of other things. I think it was racing drones. I was flying racing drones and doing photography from drones and things like that. And then I started up golf, which is probably the most frustrating hobby in the world. And I just needed something to chill out from playing golf. So I then said, you know what, I'd really like to get another tank. I went to one of my local fish shops and I saw the Fluval Evo with the marine setup. And I thought, you know what, I've always wanted to try marine, but it's always kind of put me off, the difficulty and expense. I'm just going to try. I'm just going to get a small tank and I'm going to try it. And I did that, and the Fluval Evo quickly became the Aqua 120, which then, when my pump automation, I won't mention the company, but the pump automation that I had went mental when it couldn't connect to the server, and it dumped loads of RO all over my sea star and corals, and even worse, all over my floor. Came into this room here on Easter Sunday this year, and it was just a flood everywhere. And I then said, right, that's it. I'm getting because it only had one drain, so I'm getting a tank with 2 drains. And I went on Facebook Marketplace, saw this Reefer 250. It was in Basildon, which is about an hour's drive for me. And me and a friend both drove, because we needed 2 cars to pick it up. Both drove to this place, picked it up, 5th floor flat, no lift. That was fun, and got that tank. And yeah, I've filled it pretty much. I'm sure I can find a bit more space, but it is pretty full. And I'm already talking about when I move. Then I'm looking. Do I get a Red Sea 525? D&D 1500. That's the kind of tank I'm looking at the moment. But again, need to move house first. Once I've moved house, I'll look and see what tank I can get. That's Tom. Hi, Tom. Golf. Ah, yeah. Well, hats off to you if you play today. And the wind golf in the winter is just bloody horrible. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy if you live by the coast, like I do. And if you're not very good at golf like me, it's really frustrating as well. So it was just too many bad things at once. I haven't sold all of my clubs yet. I've said to a couple of people that let me get the house move over and done with. Let me get the winter over and done with, and then I'll maybe go back out on the course. If I'm just as shockingly bad as I was beforehand and I can't get any better, then I'm selling the lot and I'm not doing it again. It's just too frustrating. pH, yeah, we did a little talk about pH earlier. I'm dosing Reef's Elements, and my pH was, let me get my notes back up. Before I started dosing, my pH was alternating between 8.13 and 7.84, so it was a really big swing. Since then, I've started dosing the Reef's Elements Complete, and I only dose, I think it starts at 8 p.m. and it goes on till 10 a.m. So it's as the pH starts to drop, I start dosing with the Elements Complete, and that just kind of takes the edge off. And that now is swinging between 8.06 and 7.9, and I'm still tuning the timings a little bit. It's definitely getting better. CO2 scrubber, yeah. So there's a couple of things that I'm looking at, and my current excuse or reason, we'll say reason, it sounds better than excuse, is because I am about to move house. So we're expecting to move Friday next week. There's been a bit of a delay in the chain. It's probably going to be mid to late November now. So I'm loath to do a lot of fiddling just before moving it all. I want to move it all and then start looking at how I do it. But one of the things I was thinking about is taking the vent or the feed for my skimmer and running it through tubing and out of the window. Obviously, put it through some CO2 or something just to kind of take any nasties out of it. But to pull in fresh air and run that through the skimmer, I don't know how much that's going to do, but it's something that I thought about trying. Here we go. Look, someone else with loads of different hobbies. Yeah, I've definitely done a few, and I'm one of those people that sometimes I'll see something, and I'm quite particular about what it is I get. So, as an example, when I had the cichlid tank, I wanted LED lights. I wanted to move away from the T5s, and I wanted to put LED lights in. And I could find controllers, but they were really expensive, and they didn't do what I wanted. So I bought LED module clusters. I mounted them all to my own kind of rack system that I made for the top of the tank, and I then taught myself how to write code in Arduino to write my own lighting controller. And it got to the point where I had it, because the Arduino is really bad at keeping time, I had it updating the time. It would connect to the internet and synchronize its clock. And I thought, hang on a minute, it's connecting to the internet. What else can I get it to do? So it had a Twitter account, and it would tweet every hour. And I had like a storm mode that would simulate lightning and all sorts of other things. It would do sunrise, sunset. And then I started to get it to be a heating controller as well, in case any of my thermostats failed. So it's that kind of thing. I'll see something like that, and then I'll spend hundreds of hours learning about it and doing it. I wanted a particular leather bag as a laptop bag for traveling and things, and none of the ones that were for sale, I couldn't find any that I actually liked. So I bought a hide of leather and just taught myself how to make a leathercraft bag. Made a laptop bag, which I would still be using today if my previous tank hadn't dumped water everywhere and it got covered in salt water and left tide marks that I couldn't get out on it. So it really ruined the bag. What else we got? Yeah, I've noticed this difference as well with the doors and windows. So I was saying earlier that normally, like all throughout the summer, the window that's just behind the camera, if I'm working from home and being the CO2 machine that I am, if I'm working from home all day, I used to have the window open, and that we used to kind of regulate that CO2 build up. Now that the weather's colder, that window's just on the breather. And if I'm filming content, the window's closed, because if someone's honking on a horn outside or something, then you can. The road is just outside the other side of the window. As we're going into winter, windows, doors closed makes a big difference. I actually have a little smart gadget thing that monitors air quality. I can't actually see where I've put it now, and that does tell me the CO2, and I can see it. And normally I keep an eye on it, and if the CO2 is creeping up, I'll just kind of open the window for a bit. Then I'll get a bit cold and close it again. But I'll try and balance it out. Bolus method. Okay, pH boost in the morning. Yeah, I looked at lots of different methods. I'm a little bit lazy, and what I quite liked about the Reef's Elements is I can calculate it, and then I can just set a dosing head to dose it. I don't know whether the bolus is the same. I stopped looking a bit. I know the Red Sea guys were really nice. They gave me a complete 4-part, so I've got that here. The only reason that I'm not using that at the moment is because I have a refugium, and it says not to use it with a refugium. I think you can use it, but you probably have to dose some trace elements as well. So that's something I might try out depending on how the reef elements goes. Airstone. Okay, yeah, for the tube out of the window, that's a good idea. Yeah, airstone on it. I like that. Excellent. Well, that's about all I've got. I'm really surprised that I managed to talk for 55 minutes. So apologies for talking all that time. Be nice if we can, yeah, maybe like the next one, as I said, Tony from Digital Corals is going to be on. Give me someone to talk to. Give me a chance to actually take a drink and not just leave you in silence while I'm doing it. But yeah, it would be good to get some other guests on and yeah, start to have something to bounce off. I think that's the key. I can make loads of waffle up. It's really hard for me to gauge how everyone's receiving it when I can't see any of you or hear any of you. But yeah, it would be really good to have someone to bounce off, just to give you all a break from my voice all the time, and a bit of variety in there as well. Right, so we've got Jay. Hi Jay, thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice being on the other side of the live stream, is it? Yeah, okay, well, thank you very much everyone for tuning in. I was a little bit apprehensive, I must admit. I was a little bit concerned that it might just be me sat here talking to myself and not having anyone in. So yeah, really appreciate you all joining. Thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. See you everyone.